Blackwood Manor, an aging titan on the mist-wreathed cliffs, stood silent as a tomb. Inside, the study was a tableau of death. Arthur Blackwood, renowned collector of antiquities, slumped in his armchair, a crimson stain blossoming on his chest. The murder weapon, a Ming Dynasty dagger, seemed to pierce not just his heart, but the very air of the room, leaving behind a chilling question mark. His young assistant, Penelope Featherstone, stumbled upon the scene, her composure fracturing like a dropped vase. The study door had been locked from the inside, a detail that did not escape the sharp eyes of Inspector Gordon as he surveyed the room. The guests, a peculiar ensemble brought together for the first time under Blackwood's roof, seemed as out of place as a cubist painting in a medieval tapestry. Evelyn Beckett, a socialite with a taste for luxury and an insatiable hunger for recognition, masked her ambition with feigned shock. Professor Alistair Crowley, a seasoned archaeologist with a reputation as sharp as his trowel, hid his anxieties behind a veneer of scholarly detachment. Dr. Bartholomew Finch, a toxicologist whose knowledge of death extended beyond the theoretical, observed the scene with unsettling tranquility. Gordon, a man whose mind was a labyrinth of logic, began his interrogations. Evelyn Beckett.
It's simply unimaginable. He had promised to tell me about his upcoming project tomorrow. Who would want to take that away from him? Who would want to take him away from me? Yes, we were very close. I've enjoyed our conversations over the months since we've met. That's why it was an honor that he'd invite me to his manor. I was enjoying an afternoon tea by the fireplace in the living room and admiring exotic displays there. I think it was the assistant who killed Arthur, come to think of it. She is young, ambitious, and been given too much power by Arthur. She handles and organizes everything about Arthur's business. I heard she is the only one with the master key of every rooms in this manor.
Professor Crowley, his voice a dry rasp, like sandpaper on aged parchment.
I've been working together with Arthur for 25 years since we were young adventurous lads, hunting rare treasures, yet this is the first time I'm in this manor. We'd usually meet in the town for a meeting. As matter of fact, I met up with him last week in our usual cafe in town. I was studying and trying to decipher this old Phoenician text in my room when I heard the scream and I couldn't believe what I saw. My dear old friend, murdered. Who could have done it? I think it was that assistant who did it. She was always lingering around the manor. That jade phoenix imperial seal of Tang dynasty in his private study room by the Tsar Nicholas II Zero Matryoshka doll would fetch a significant amount of money too if she stole it. Or the killer could be Miss Beckett. She is a fraud who doesn't understand art. We all know that the reason she is invited here because of her looks, and I know the type. History has taught us, great men fell because of a seductress. She is of that archetype.
Dr. Finch, his voice a soothing monotone, a stark contrast to the tension in the room.
I was invited to his manor as a consultant for his upcoming project. A lot of his works involved finding old tombs or places from ancient time where some elements of soil, traps prepared by our ancestors, could contain poisons to kill any trespassers. I don't know much about the project, but the project is going to be a collaboration between Mr. Blackwood and Professor Crowley. I heard they had some differences in approaching the huge ambitious project, but I think they came to a compromise as they have worked together for a very long time. I personally don't know anything about the project as it would have been announced tomorrow morning, if he were still alive. I'm not sure who'd hurt Mr. Blackwood. But a man of his stature, influence, and wealth sure would invite some unsavory characters to his life. His manor is a large estate and lots of staffs. It could be anyone, really, or it could be an attempted robbery. Say, his assistant, Miss Featherstone? I am not sure. She looks innocent, but looks can be deceiving. Perhaps the greed got the best of her.
Gordon absorbed their words like a sponge, his gaze a scalpel dissecting their expressions, searching for the slightest twitch of dishonesty that might unravel their meticulously crafted alibis. Yet, the symphony of deceit was incomplete. A crucial instrument remained silent, the voice of Miss Penelope Featherstone, the keeper of Blackwood's secrets and the first witness to his demise.
I went to his study to inform him that the menu for dinner had been prepared as he requested. The door was locked, which was not unlikely as Mr. Blackwood enjoyed his solitary time in there, and I couldn't believe it that he was murdered after I unlocked the door. Mr. Blackwood. He was a kind man, a generous employer. The thought that someone would harm him. I last saw him alive at the patio earlier in the afternoon. He was discussing a potential new project with Professor Crowley. The discussion was a bit tense, but they laughed it off in the end. After all, they have known each other for a long time. My job here is to serve Mr. Blackwood's interests, whether it's business or household affairs. That's why I move around the manor to observe everything, to make sure everything is in order, and wherever Mr. Blackwood went, I'd always be around him to take notes. Before I went to his study, I was checking the kitchen to make sure that the menu for dinner later was prepared immaculately. I didn't see anyone suspicious around the manor, no sign of break-in, either. Although, I noticed that the master key to this manor that I kept was missing last week, but it reappeared few days later on the front yard of the manor. I must have dropped it there. A rare clumsiness of my part. I am not sure who'd harm Mr. Blackwood. If I had to guess, maybe his rival who hired someone to sabotage his upcoming project? He had many competitors.
As the fog outside thickened, obscuring the manor from the prying eyes of the world, Gordon found himself lost in a maze of contradictions and hidden agendas. The locked room, the disparate motives, the missing key that had mysteriously reappeared, each element was a piece of a puzzle that refused to coalesce. The truth, Gordon knew, was as elusive as the swirling mist that shrouded the manor. It was a secret whispered in the shadows, a chilling enigma that only time, and his relentless pursuit of justice, could unravel. The upcoming project to unearth history of mankind, that would establish Blackwood legacy, may remain unfulfilled due to the demise of the ever-consummate adventurous like Mr. Blackwood, but someone did kill him. Perhaps, out of spite or greed. That person said something interesting earlier that bothered the detective. Who is that person? What did the person say? Who done it?